This is the usual image we associate with Lawrence of Arabia. A little less well known is the association with Hubert Scott-Paine and the development of speedboats on Southampton water at Hythe and Calshot in Hampshire. This film credits him with a new breed of speedboat, but how far was Lawrence of Arabia really involved with a new technology which could not be more far removed from his traditional image?
A new speedboat built from the ideas of Lawrence of Arabia was christened by Lord Strathbogie.
Empire Day.
The design is revolutionary. It has airspeed indicators like an aeroplane, and the fin-like rudder is so sharp that it has cut the finger of one of the men working on it. In its trials on Lake Windermere, it is expected to break the world's record at more than 80 miles an hour.
It's true Lawrence was deeply interested in this project as he had witnessed at first hand a seaplane crash in 1931 and was horrified at the slowness of the boats sent out to the scene, which meant that all of the crew drowned long before any of the rescue boats arrived. In 1925, Lawrence joined the Marine branch of the RAF at Mountbatten in Plymouth under the assumed name of T.E. Shaw. The base commander was Wing Commander Sidney Smith, a long-time friend of Lawrence who gave him a job working with a civilian, Hubert Scott-Paine, to develop and test what later became the RAF's so-called crash boats. Whilst assisting with the 1929 Schneider Trophy, Lawrence stayed at the time on board the Biscayne Baby, which, although fast, had temperamental engines, which he managed to keep running, and impressed the owner so much he gave him the tender as a present. Hubert Scott-Paine was one of the most famous men in the world of powerboat racing and marine aviation. He managed the Supermarine factory in Southampton, hiring R.J. Mitchell of Spitfire fame and winning the Schneider Trophy. He sold Supermarine and set up the British Powerboat Company, which by 1931 had built the fastest boat in the world, Miss England, which set a new world water speed record at 98.7 miles per hour and later raised this to 111 miles per hour. While this was going on, Scott-Paine had also made an offer to build a 35-foot planing launch for the RAF. The man dealing with this for the RAF was Flight Lieutenant W.E.G. Beaufort Green, and it was he who suggested to Scott-Paine that Lawrence would be the ideal person to conduct the trials and development of these boats. Testing took up most of Lawrence's time, as the engines had to be made to be reliable at sustained high speeds. Lawrence was self-taught by now, well respected for his marine knowledge and practical application. The crucial factor in the revolutionary design developed at the British Powerboat Company was planing, or the ability of fast craft with a hard chine as a hull to speed across the surface of the water rather than plough through it. Lawrence was invited to write the official handbook for the RAF ST-200 class speedboats, which today remains a concise and instructive technical manual. His death in a motorbike accident occurred 17 years after he returned from World War I, and in the intervening time he had another little-known career in the Marine branch of the RAF, where he was instrumental in helping to develop the RAF's fast rescue boats, which later became the Motor Torpedo Boat, MTB. Hubert Scott-Paine, at his British Powerboat Company, carried on developing fast patrol boats, but these craft were not greatly appreciated by the senior officers running the fleet, who remained convinced that future naval requirements lay in the heavily armed battleships. Eventually he took his ideas, with the prototype boat, to the United States, where he met the president, who famously asked him how many he could build and how quickly. Hubert Scott-Paine's design is now recognized as the forerunner of the USPT, or Patrol Torpedo Boat, the same type that rescued General MacArthur from Corregidor and the later President John F. Kennedy skippered during World War II. Hubert Scott-Paine went on to become an American citizen and died in the United States.